Okay, so in this video, we're going to talk about how many frames should you make your video. So the first thing to know is that the 30 frames per second is the video speed by default in 3D Studio Max. You can change that, but we're just going to work with the default because it's easier. However, later on when you're creating videos for other applications, you can change the frame speed, the frame rate, and you do that under the time configuration. So for this, we're working with 30 frames per second. That's our speed. And we know that the default video has 100 frames in the animation. So how long is that? What's the time? Well, the number of frames divided by the frame speed is the duration. So if we have 100 frames at 30 frames per second, we have 3.33 seconds if we just render out the defaults. So if we just go in there when you set up and you render out your time segment, we're going to have, actually this is 101, isn't it? We're just going to say 100 to make it easier. So we're going to divide those 100 frames by the 30 frames per second and end up with a little over 3 seconds. Now, for those of you guys who haven't had algebra in a while, it's important to remember that your units all have to match. If we're using frames and we're using seconds and we're going to be using frames per seconds, the stuff that we're using has to be all in alignment or the math will end up wrong. So because we're dividing 30 frames per second into 100 frames, the frames is going to get canceled so that we end up with seconds. That's your answer, seconds. So let's say we had 3,000 frames and we're still at our 30 frames per second. Well, 30 goes into 3,000, right? Cancels out frames, and we end up with 100 seconds. So we want to convert that to minutes because we really don't tend to say our video is 100 seconds long. So we divide by 60 since there are 60 seconds in a minute. We get 1.67 minutes, which is the equivalent to roughly 1 minute and 40 seconds. And that's how you know the time based on the number of frames. Okay, so if we want to calculate the number of frames we need per time, because I'm going to tell you I want a 2-minute video or a 30-second video or 5-minute video. What you're going to need to do first is convert minutes to seconds so that we're in our matching units. So we're going to do that for a 2-minute video. We're going to convert minutes to seconds by multiplying by 60. So for 2 minutes, we have 120 seconds. Okay, so now we're going to take what we've learned up here. We know that if we have 100 frames, it's 3.33 seconds long. So in our algebra, in our equation that we set up here, we're going to say 100 frames equals 0.33 seconds. Oh, I'm sorry, over our seconds, right? So we know that 100 frames, 3.33 seconds, equals X over 120 seconds. So we're moving our 120 down here on the bottom, same as our equation. So how we're setting this up is we know that for 100 frames, it equals 3.33 seconds. This is our default. These are our knowns. Our unknown is how many frames is in 120 seconds. Okay, so we're going to cross multiply across the equal sign, and we're going to get 100 times 120 equals 3.33x. Divide by 3.33 equals x. X equals 3,603 frames. In order to create a 2-minute video, we're going to need 3,603 frames. Now, I'm not that much of a stickler. You can round it off to 3,600 just to make it easier to manage. And so that's how this works, right? If I change this to 5 minutes, if I want to change this to 5 minutes, I'll multiply that times 60 to get 300. I change this to 300, right? And just change everywhere in the equation. And then do the math. And it gives me it ends up creating the number of actually those almost cancel each other out as one. So you're going to have 3. Oops, sorry, I'm not very good at doing math in my head. And, oh, where's my calculator? For those of you guys who are, you have a great skill. Okay, so we're doing 100 times 300 divided by 3.33 equals, and we have 9,900 frames in a 5-minute video. Okay, and that's how it works. Now, conversely, obviously, if you know how many frames you have, we've already figured out how to do that, right? You know how many frames you have, you can just plug it into this original equation here. And that's it. And that's how you solve for your frames needed per time. Okay? So the next thing I want to show you is how to create a YouTube channel. And I have move this into the view a little bit better. Okay, I've just typed YouTube into Google and searched for it. And when you click on YouTube, it's going to take you to the screen. And up here in the corner, I'm already logged in for my account. You can hit your channel or you can create a new account. And it's that simple. And then you just fill out all the information that's needed. And then once you have your channel, you go to your videos. And you can upload videos by just hitting create, upload videos, and then upload your videos. And you can see I'm currently in the process of uploading some videos. And once you've uploaded them, let's see, you can hit edit draft. And you can give it a title and a description. And this is working with a, actually that one looks better. I'm going to select that one. You can give it a thumbnail. Tell it which playlist. No, it's not made for kids. And then you can make them private, unlisted, or public. And that just depends on what you're doing with it. If you're sending stuff to me, it either needs to be unlisted or public. Or private, and then you have to, I think you have to put in my email to so that I can see it. So make sure if you're doing this, you are, at a bare minimum, doing unlisted. I'm doing these public so that everybody can see them. And then you publish them, and it will give you a link for your video. And then you can have playlists. I have a whole bunch of playlists here for different content. And it allows you to go in and organize. You could see this is the playlist for this course and all the videos in order. Now, I'm going to encourage you not to monetize your videos if you're showing them to people who you want to employ you, because they're not going to watch them if you do. They're not going to watch the ads. You want to be user friendly. If you're trying to get a job, make sure that your videos are not set up with ads. Keep them just like I did for these, and just don't monetize them. But that's basically it. So once you get your YouTube channel, you can then show your work to other people, and you can also use it to upload your work in Blackboard, since Blackboard does not allow me to watch anything other than a .mov file. Okay? So let me know if you have any questions about that, and we'll get back to 3D Studio Max here.